Between the Ribs with host Jonathan Morris, fourth-generation farmer. First-hand insight into farming, faith, and family as only Jonathan can bring. Between the Ribs. Between the Ribs on Florida Man Radio.
What's cracking like it, everybody? Between the Ribs with your boy here, Jonathan Morris, live in the living color. I have to maintain a steady pace today. I lost my voice last night cheering at a basketball game for my son.
Did they win?
They won by 39 points.
That's a lot.
Yeah, Julian is seventh man off the bench because they got an excellent team, and he just realized that going to an 8A high school just because you're big don't mean the world is handed to you.
Nope, you gotta work.
There's kids with a heart. I mean, he's playing good. He's coming off the bench. He's like Dennis Rodman coming off the bench. He's coming off the bench, putting up anywhere from 4 to 10 points, getting anywhere from 6 to 12 rebounds, 2-3 block shots, couple steals, a few assists, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. So he's a very good contributor. The coolest thing about our basketball team at Lake Mary is when we sub out our starting five, the score doesn't go down or get closer. We continue to walk away from the other team. So, like, our second string is better than most starting fives, right? So when we rest our starting five and we put in man number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, sometimes the coach will switch out 5 for 5. Sometimes he'll, put the 6th man in, the 7th man in, then, Julian, and then the 8th man in, and he'll slowly rotate out. So he's always got a couple starters and, 2 or 3 of the 6, 7, 8 man in. But when we put in our 6, 7, 8 man, nothing changes. The offense doesn't change. We don't slow down. The other team doesn't catch up. It's unbelievable to watch. And sometimes our second string are trying so hard to be starters that they actually do better than the starters. And they'll put up more points than the starters put up.
Heck yeah.
Because
the starters are expected. The other guys are like, oh, no, I'm just as good. Watch this.
Right. And it's insane. And we got 3 or 4 kids that can slam, and they're all hungry, trying to slam, and they just play hungry. And so it's fun. So I holler and hoo, Lake Mary, hoo, all the time, and I was messing with them because they were playing with the other team. It was, if you go to New Smyrna, if you're listening to us on the app, I apologize for what we did to your school, but we played up, so they don't have a freshman team. So our freshmen played their JV.
Oh.
So our freshman kids played their sophomore and juniors. They had no freshmen on the team, or the 2 freshmen on the team didn't play, and we beat them by 39 points. And at one point they were playing with them. So they were running plays just to eat up clock because we were beating them so bad, and the mercy rule had already started, and the clock wouldn't stop. So they were doing things to just eat up time, and then they would go score 2 points. So I yelled, didn't your mom ever teach y'all not to play with your food before you eat it? Just eat them. We won 100 points. We ended up scoring 89 points in the game. I was like, y'all could have got to 100 if y'all wouldn't have been playing with them. But anyways, it was fun. So
well, there's no use in tearing them to the ground, though. I mean, they played, and then they, loosened up, so the other guys didn't feel so awful.
Yeah, but they were trying to fight and roughhouse, and the parents were aggressive. And it's like, hey, look, it's not our fault that our kids are this good. It is our fault.
So the other team was being aggressive?
Well, the other team they were very sore losers.
Oh.
So it kind of, instead of just trying to be a gentleman and be like, all right, let's just get the game over. It's like, no, all right, we're gonna keep putting up points on y'all. Y'all want to act like this? We're gonna keep putting up points.
So what is the mercy rule? Because I know in baseball, if in the lower leagues, if we're 10 or 12 points over the other team, then they just all right, you win, game over after this inning.
So the way mercy rule works in football and basketball is 35 points.
Oh,
once you go up 35 points higher than another team, then the clock doesn't stop. The game isn't over. The game continues. But there's no timeouts. There's no, even on penalties.
Or at least on the winning team side, right?
No, the clock doesn't stop anymore. So injury time, normally you'd have an injury timeout or a coach call a timeout, or you stop, like in football, you stop the ball, when they're moving it for the first down chain. So in football, the clock just does not stop. The clock does not stop. It just plays. So it gets the game over really fast. Even if they have a penalty, the clock does not stop. In basketball, the clock doesn't stop anymore. It just does not stop. It just rolls. Now, obviously, when it gets to if we started the mercy rule in the third quarter, so the clock stopped for the fourth quarter, you had the 1 minute break in between quarters, and then the clock started back in the fourth quarter. But, a 12-minute quarter normally lasts 15 to 20 minutes with penalties and free throws and all that. With the mercy rule, even on a free throw, the clock don't stop.
12 minutes.
Oh, it was a 12-minute fourth quarter, and it was over. It was over. We got that's Heather, by the way. I forgot to introduce her. Heather Hippopotamus in the studio.
Hello.
Live and in living color over there. She about killed me.
Freezing. Why'd I kill you?
With the strobe light.
Oh, yeah.
It was like I went into.
But you look good, don't you?
I look fantastic.
Okay.
But is that the light or is that me?
It's.
I eat my humble pie one slice at a time.
I enhance. That's all.
Yes. There's a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about. But being the beginning of the year, I want to break bread with you.
All right.
I want to talk about health, healing, and all the lies that lie between.
Lots of them.
Lots of them. False labels, misleading labels is a big problem in our market today. When I say our market, like our market industry, like, grocery stores, market chains, shipping, distributors, what you see on the TV, just our market that we purchase by. I wrote some of them down here. Annabelle jumped in.
Yes, she did.
When in our pregame meeting, Annabelle jumped in because I was at organic or natural, fortified, enriched. Heather said grass-fed. Annabelle hollered out, grass-finished. That was awesome. Humanely and naturally raised. And so on and so on.
This is all so important because I see these labels, and if I did not know you and have been doing this show for the past 4 years, then I would not know any of that. I'd see the pretty word, and I'd be like, okay, it means it's something special, and it means exactly what it says. But grass-fed does not mean grass-fed forever from birth. So, and I would not have known that without you.
And there's different definitions of what we think grass is. Grass and grain, the difference between a grass and a grain is one's processed and put in a barrel.
That's
and
the grain.
that's grain, and the other one is still connected to the plant in the field. So there are grasses that become grains after they're processed, but if you leave them alive and you let the cow or the pig gorge on them, they still consume that product. So when people are like, oh, grass-fed, I don't have to worry about GMO grains. I don't have to worry about hormones and steroids and antibiotics and all the stuff that they spray. I don't have to worry about folic acid, which we're going to get to, and all the stuff they spray the grains with. And it's like, no, this is still a GMO corn or GMO soybean or GMO sunflower. It still was sprayed with folic acid, which is not natural to the earth. They just haven't harvested, dried it, and put it in a barrel yet, so it's still technically defined as a grass. So they can label the cow as grass-fed, and you think you're safe from all the crap, but really, it's actually worse for you because the plant
and you're believing something completely different.
Right, and it's actually at a greater risk to you because the plant's still alive, connected to the root, pulling stuff out of the soil, that all that stuff that has been sprayed is still actively moving through the plant, right? Unlike when they harvest it and dry it and it goes through the heating and drying cycle, some of that stuff leaches out or burns out. So you still have it there, but it's more active in the plant when the plant's alive.
So you want the cow eating the live plant?
No. Okay, so, all right. So if the plant is, let's say, corn, sunflowers, soy, oats, and it has been sprayed, fortified, enriched with folic acid, if it has the BT, right? We talked about this a while back. I used DT instead of BP in the text I sent you. And you were like, Billy said that they outlawed that back in the 70s.
Right.
Okay, but BT is, the B stands for, oh my gosh, Bacteria, whatever the insect is. And it is a GMO BT, not DT, that they put in. And then when the insect, the worm, the caterpillar, whatever it is, eats part of the plant, it shuts down its reproductive system. It can no longer reproduce, and then it ultimately kills it from the inside out. So, but that is something that is genetically altered into the crop. Or
you're saying B or BT, not PT, because I'm seeing there's a Picardin.
Well, there's several. There's a BT, PT, pest resistance. There's a
Oh, that's
bee.
right. You showed me that
Yeah,
book.
yeah. There's all kind of different things. There's what they call the Roundup Ready. There's which has the DNA of glyphosate into the corn or into the soybean or the sunflower, so it doesn't kill it when you spray the crop. So what I'm getting at is why the plant is alive. And plants are just like human beings and just like cows. They have a system, like we have blood flow, where they have sap, and they have nutrients, and they have veins, and they have stems, and they have the leaves, and they have the root. So they are actively they don't have a heartbeat like we do.
The metabolizing.
Right, but they're actively in circulation, everything through that plant to keep it alive. They bring the sun in, they absorb it, it goes down into the roots, it comes back up, it goes in through the leaves, right? That's the way the plant cycles inside of its body. We have a heart. Our heart pumps our blood, it goes down to our feet, comes back up, out to our fingers, our hands, right? We put food in, we digest it, it goes through our body, right? Okay, so the plant's food is the sunlight and then what they suck up from the ground. So that's the life cycle of the plant. So while the plant is alive, all that stuff is pumping through the veins or the sap, if you will, of the plant.
Oh, that's why it's important that's dry?
Hang on.
Okay,
You're
sorry.
going way too far.
Okay.
So when the cow, I'm trying to show you the greater risk of exposure.
Okay.
Under false labeling, misleading labels. So when the plant is alive and the cow is eating the live plant, it has not been harvested, dried, and put in a barrel yet, processed yet. So it is not labeled a grain, it is still labeled a grass. You buy it under the assumption of grass-fed. You have a higher risk of exposure of whatever GMO or whatever pesticide or whatever folic acid or whatever was sprayed on that plant because the plant is actively circulating that through its body.
Right.
All right. Now, when that plant is left to dry, and they spray a lot of plants before they harvest them to help them dry out. They top them, they cut the tops out, they help dry them out. They spray them with stuff to help them die and dry up and get the moisture out of them so it doesn't rot and sour going into the silos and the grain bins, right? Mm-hmm. So now the plant has stopped living. It's not soaking up anything else. It's dying. So it's bleeding a little bit, if you will. Like we bleed out blood, it bleeds out sap and juice and stuff. So some of the toxins and stuff are bleeding out because the plant's drying up. Now, it's still there, okay? Mm-hmm. They process it, but then they spray it or heat it or treat it so it doesn't go bad and it doesn't mold as it's going through the dryer and the oh my gosh, the silo where the grain bin storage container that they have, the trucks. So you still have all that stuff, but it's actually worse for you if the cow eats it while it's alive and actively circulating the chemical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So it's a false misleading label of grass-fed, grass-finished, when they're eating the same thing that could be considered a grain if it had been harvested and put in a barrel and then dumped out into a bag. And people are like, well, I don't want grain. I only want grass-fed. Okay, you still got tricked.
So you're saying just use whatever grass is out
there?
there?
No, you need to know your food, know your farmer.
And know your grass?
Well, there's nothing wrong with corn, right? People have this bad thing about corn.
Because we don't digest it.
But cows do.
Okay.
If you walk around behind a cow,
you don't find kernels.
You don't find corners of undigested corn. You may find some little specks, right? Because cow doesn't digest
ain't like
everything.
when we eat corn.
But it's not like when we eat corn. And if you look at Leviticus, if you go back to the Old Testament of the Bible, that stuff God made for the animals to eat and process and digest and make protein and B vitamins and calcium. And then we eat the animal and we get all that without having to gorge ourselves on those type of vegetables. I'm not saying don't eat vegetables, but eat more meat. We'll be right back. Stick around. We got a lot to get to. Enriched and fortified, also naturally raised.